Kansas, often referred to as the Sunflower State, is much more than just its vast, flat landscapes. Beneath its seemingly simple exterior lies a state rich in natural beauty, profound history, and a culture that is deeply rooted in the American heartland. Kansas plays a pivotal role in the nation's agriculture, earning the nickname the breadbasket of America. It leads the country in the production of wheat, corn, sorghum, and cattle, making it a cornerstone of America's food supply. But beyond its agricultural prowess, Kansas is perhaps best known for its association with the Wizard of Oz. The state is the iconic home of Dorothy, whose famous line, "There's no place like home," has become part of American pop culture. Even today, cities like Liberal boast attractions such as Dorothy's House, where visitors can immerse themselves in the world of Oz and relive the magic of this beloved story. However, beyond its charming reputation and its place in folklore, Kansas harbors a few secrets that are less often discussed. The state faces challenges like rising crime rates, controversial projects, and an alarming increase in homelessness. These issues, often overshadowed by the state's agricultural image and pop culture ties, represent the more complex and difficult realities of life in Kansas. The Kansas Statewide Homeless Coalition reported a total of 2,115 homeless individuals across the state in 2024, marking an increase of 6.8% from the previous year's figure of 2,636. However, many advocates believe the true number is far higher. In fact, the actual number of homeless individuals is estimated to be 3 times larger than the official count, as the data is gathered during the winter months, when many people experiencing homelessness are temporarily staying with friends or family and are therefore not included in the tally. One of the primary causes of homelessness in Kansas is the severe shortage of affordable housing. Low-income residents, even those who work or receive benefits such as Social Security or disability payments, often struggle to afford rent. In Johnson County, which has the largest population in the state, more than half of the homeless individuals in 2024 were reported to have some form of income. Yet, many of them still lost their homes because they were unable to pay rent and were eventually evicted. As a result, homelessness in Kansas often leads to individuals and families moving from place to place, setting up tents in open spaces, living in cars, or finding other hidden spots to sleep for extended periods. In one city, there were reports of about 100 vehicles being used as homes by homeless individuals, most of whom are not counted in official statistics. Like many other regions in the United States, Kansas is facing a housing crisis, particularly for low-income residents. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, the state is short approximately 52,000 rental units to meet the needs of its population. In Lawrence, a community with a high number of homeless individuals, people without homes are visibly present in public spaces, especially in the busy downtown area. The rising number of homeless individuals is also causing concern among local business owners. Brady Flannery, manager of Weaver's Convenience Store in downtown Lawrence, shared his concerns with state lawmakers, noting that the growing homeless population is making the downtown area feel less safe for both businesses and customers. This has only added to the pressure on local communities, which are struggling to find solutions to this increasingly complex issue. In addition to the housing crisis, Kansas is facing another long-standing issue that has yet to see a resolution: the closure of hospitals. Since 2015, 8 hospitals have shut down across the state. The Center for Rural Health Quality and Payment Reform, CHQPR, has been tracking rural hospitals at risk of closure. Last year, the organization identified 600 rural hospitals at risk nationwide. This year, that number has increased to 703 hospitals. Kansas accounts for 8% of these rural hospitals at risk of closure in the United States. Overall, 84% of rural hospitals in Kansas are operating at a loss, impacting 84 hospitals across the state. Since last year, 3 additional hospitals have been added to the list of those at immediate risk of closing, including Harrington Hospital, which ceased operations in 2023 due to low patient volume and ongoing financial struggles. Many hospitals have managed to stay open despite these losses by relying on local tax revenue or state government grants. However, there is no guarantee that these funds will continue to be available, nor are they always sufficient to cover rising costs. Chad Austin, President and CEO of the Kansas Hospital Association, pointed out that both rural and urban hospitals across the U.S. are suffering from workforce shortages, financial difficulties, stagnant reimbursements, inflation, rising supply costs, demographic changes, and regulatory hurdles. To address these challenges, Governor Laura Kelly has advocated for the expansion of Medicaid to fill the insurance gap for 150,000 low-income residents. Medicaid expansion in Kansas would cover an additional 109,000 adults and 39,000 children, providing direct financial benefits to hospitals and clinics. For example, the Ascension Via Christi Hospital in Pittsburgh could receive an additional $682.4 million annually in funding. Since 2014, Kansas has missed out on an estimated $7 billion in potential Medicaid funding due to its refusal to adopt the Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, ACA. As Kansas continues to grapple with its healthcare crisis, expanding Medicaid remains a critical issue for ensuring the survival of its rural hospitals and providing much-needed support for its healthcare system. Crime trends in Kansas in 2023 revealed some significant shifts. According to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, KBI, violent crime decreased by 3.7% compared to 2022. However, the overall number of violent crimes remained 8.6% higher than the 10-year average. In total, there were 13,294 violent crime incidents, including homicides, rapes, robberies, and aggravated assaults. On the other hand, property crime saw a 2.6% increase in 2023, marking the first rise in property crime since 2017. These crimes include thefts, burglary, car theft, and arson. The report also highlights that property crimes are often underreported by victims. Motor vehicle theft increased by 4.9% over the 10-year average, with a 4.8% increase from 2022 and a 15.8% increase compared to the pre-COVID year of 2019, when there were 7,149 reported incidents. Interestingly, motor vehicle theft tends to have a higher reporting rate than other types of property crime. For those considering moving to Kansas, it's important to note that Wichita should likely be avoided due to its high violent crime rate, ranking 29th out of the 300 largest metropolitan areas in the United States. Topeka follows closely behind, ranking 33rd, while Lawrence is ranked 16th in terms of homicide rate, placing it ahead of major cities like Baltimore, Detroit, and St. Louis. Additionally, Merriam, Kansas, located southwest of Kansas City, has the highest property crime rate in the state. Its proximity to a major city may contribute to the elevated crime rate, but the area also grapples with serious issues such as opioid abuse and gang violence. According to data from the Merriam Police Department, this small city, with a population of about 11,000 people, received nearly 9,500 service calls in 2022, reflecting the ongoing challenges the community faces in addressing crime and public safety. Kansas, like many parts of the Great Plains, was deeply shaken by one of the most devastating environmental disasters in American history, the Dust Bowl. Occurring during the 1930s, this ecological catastrophe remains one of the darkest chapters in the nation's history, particularly in terms of environmental and agricultural devastation. It was caused by a deadly combination of severe drought and unsustainable farming practices, which together triggered massive dust storms and widespread economic despair. The immense dust storms, known as black blizzards, struck Kansas with such intensity that the air became unbreathable and the sky was engulfed in darkness. These storms destroyed crops and buried homes, roads, and entire communities under thick layers of dust. The economic hardship, hunger, and poverty forced around 2.5 million people to abandon their homes in search of a better life. Thousands of families, often referred to as Okies, though many were from Kansas, not just Oklahoma, left their farms and headed west toward states like California in search of work. This mass migration caused widespread disruption, with whole communities uprooted and economic instability exacerbated during the already difficult Great Depression era. Many of the displaced faced severe health issues, including dust pneumonia, a respiratory disease that led to thousands of deaths, particularly among children and elderly individuals. Hospitals were overwhelmed, lacking the resources needed to treat this new and deadly condition. Meanwhile, farmers, already struggling due to the Great Depression, suffered the additional blow of losing crops, livestock, and their means of livelihood. Families unable to pay rent were evicted from their land, sinking them even deeper into poverty. The displaced farmers and their families were often met with discrimination and were forced to live in overcrowded, unsanitary migrant camps. The ongoing disaster led to widespread despair, as many saw no end to their suffering. The emotional toll of the Dust Bowl had a long-lasting psychological impact on survivors, many of whom lived in constant fear of another ecological disaster. Unfortunately, the crisis also saw a rise in suicides as people lost hope of ever recovering from such devastation. Another dark chapter in Kansas's history is Project Sunset, a controversial proposal for a $320 million poultry processing plant near Tonganoxie, Kansas, initiated by Tyson Foods in 2017. This project was shrouded in secrecy during its planning stages, earning it the nickname, the Secret Project. The local community was completely blindsided when the proposal was suddenly made public, triggering widespread anger and frustration over being excluded from any discussions regarding the project. As soon as the details of the proposal emerged, concerns quickly surfaced about the potential environmental impacts, including water pollution, foul odors, and the strain it would place on local resources, all of which are common in large-scale industrial operations. Additionally, residents feared that the plant would drastically alter the small-town character of Tonganoxie, with an influx of increased traffic, noise pollution, and a low-wage workforce. The lack of transparency during the planning phase sparked outrage, leading to a series of public protests, packed town hall meetings, and the circulation of petitions. The grassroots movement against the project gained significant momentum, forcing Tyson Foods to withdraw its proposal just weeks after it was made public. This swift response highlighted the power of community activism and the importance of local input in large-scale development projects. The Project Sunset debacle remains a striking example of how secrecy, lack of communication, and disregard for community concerns can lead to public backlash and the eventual collapse of a controversial proposal.
We are also putting out a report showing that poultry workers at Tyson and other companies across the country cannot use the bathroom when they need to.